Hello and welcome to another episode of Within Crisis, the podcast. Today we have a lovely special guest with us, Takeda Shots 1500, to talk about his history with gaming and the game Dead by Daylight. And bring you over here so we can actually start the show. So, Takeda, do you want to give a quick introduction to who you are?
Sure. Hello. Thank you for having me. My name is Keel Shots, and I stream on Twitch. Almost 5 years now, actually. Most of my content revolves around RPGs, adventure and horror games, mostly Final Fantasy 14, but I do occasionally play Dead by Daylight. A lot more lately, actually. It's been nice.
Excellent. So, how did you actually start in your gaming life?
Could we be more specific? Are we talking
just in general,
like from a little baby boy playing video games?
Yeah, literal history.
Literal history. All right. Well, I mean, it's pretty much always been a part of my life for the most part. I mean, I think I've owned almost every system at some point growing up. From Nintendo, I think between me and my brother and sister, we had Nintendo. Going up from, I don't know, how old was I when I had that? I don't know. Would have been like young. But a big highlight for me, probably if we're going through the times of gaming, Sega. I was a big Sega fanboy. As a kid, that was my thing for a good while. But I don't know. I mean, I think I floated between all sorts of games. I've always been playing games, not as consistently, and certainly not as a hobby / semi job as I am now. But yeah, I think genre wise, I pretty much floated between everything. I was big into platformers, maybe some fighting games and whatnot. As a kid, I went through the period where it was all about Call of Duty, and I really wasn't into RPGs quite yet. I had quite the Guitar Hero phase, I think, as well. But I played I think like I said, I think I've owned every console at one point, from child with family sharing to teen and into an adult. I think my first system where it was like mine and mine alone was the N64. That was a big deal. I was a big Pokemon fan.
Yeah, nothing wrong with the Pokemon.
I think I've honestly have floated between most genres. I know coming into an adult and into the whole Twitch scene, like I said, most my content at least started and revolved around Final Fantasy specifically, but I didn't even get into really Final Fantasies the series until I was like 20. It was not something I really played as a kid. Growing up, I knew it existed. I knew what it was, and I was always sort of genuinely curious, but as something that's sort of like staple content, I really didn't even try playing it until I was an adult.
I had a similar experience with the Zelda series.
Yeah.
Persona.
Yeah.
We're about 18, I believe, Paul, with Persona. And that was yours truly. I got you into that series.
Yeah, that's see, it's one of those things where I didn't discover it till now, and now it's like now I got to look in their back catalog because I never played those games, or it didn't even cross my radar, or maybe briefly did, but I never got around to it. Like I said, there was periods where I played a lot more. I mean, obviously, as a kid, it was all about playing video games with friends and neighbors. I was lucky enough to grow up as a kid with neighborhood children all relatively around my age, so it was pretty common to get excited to meet up after school or meet up on the weekend and just game on whatever. And especially because at the time, you know, as a kid, a lot of these games or systems were owned by your parents. They were the ones who provided these things as a child. So a lot of the time I had the N64, next door neighbor had a PlayStation, and the guy down the block had the Sega or whatever. So I got to sort of dabble in whatever, and that was a pretty, you know, it's a fun memory looking back on it. You think just playing games with friends and neighborhood kids was just killing time, but looking back on it, I did quite a bit then, so I look back fondly. But yeah, I would say somewhere down the middle, being in high school, teenage years and stuff like that, I got busy with other things. So it was stuff that I just got to enjoy when I wasn't studying or doing whatever. That I would say that was definitely the Call of Duty phase. End of high school leading into early 20s, and then I dipped into the whole RPG thing a little bit. I couldn't even tell you what stuff I've played, what stuff I haven't played. There's like super big titles that I've never even been into, like Zelda. I've played like little to no Zelda ever for no reason. I'm sure I would get around to it eventually. It's pretty much an ongoing joke of the amount of backlog or things that I could and should be playing and I just haven't.
Yeah, I was looking at my Steam library yesterday, along with the Epic library. It's like there's about 200 games here.
Yeah,
I've never
I think we're all
played.
pretty guilty of that now.
I think that's
especially
like,
this day and age. Yeah,
yeah, that's I think that's an unfortunate thing about becoming an adult. You're having to be really picky with what you choose to commit your time to play, especially when it comes to RPGs. Like Witcher 3, for example. I've dabbled with Witcher 3, but I've never been truly able to commit to it because even though it's a good game, it's not high on my kind of radar of other games that I would probably commit more time to. So it's kind of losing out in that sense. Not because it's a bad game. It's just that I haven't got the time to play it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find your library, it's like there's things that I own and then things that like I want to play it. I know I'm sure I'll enjoy it. Do I make the time for it? And then bam, a new release comes out and I'm like, okay, never mind, this takes priority. Witcher 3 is gonna have to wait another 6 months.
That's the thing between adult gaming and childhood gaming. Childhood gaming, you had a game, you knew that was it for half a year. You played the crap out of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially if like I said, as a kid, a lot of the time, I mean, these are games that you got gifts for as a birthday gift or a Christmas gift. I mean, you're not just buying games. So you had that game or whatever you had in your probably small video game library, and you just lived off that until you got something new.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's part of what, like, when I eventually got a PlayStation 1 and got into Final Fantasy in properly 7, 8, 9, I went through them multiple times. Just viewing my guide. So with Final Fantasy 9, you get to this 4 and this bit under 12 hours. This is a super secret weapon. It's like, all right, I'll keep trying to go for that. Took a long time to get that timing down, but I managed to do it once.
Do you find you sometimes you get that like nostalgia burnout? So you remember, for example, but I know with you with Final Fantasy 8, when you went back in school and you had all the time in the world to level up all the GFs, and you would where you would draw the magic when you and it's quite time consuming. And I think sometimes like quite recently I went back to Final Fantasy 8 and I thought, I kind of the low level route, isn't it, to keep yourself under level 10, but I think I got so far into the game and I just was like just burnout. I just I haven't got the time to play this. It's quite time consuming, and then you just kind of bail halfway through.
The most recent game for me for that was Brilliant Diamond.
Oh yeah.
It's like, right, this is just standard Pokemon. I've played it a million times. Then Arceus came out, and I'm just like, I can play the crap out of this. This feels different. What?
Yeah, I had Shining Pearl, and I think I completed the Elite Four, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. And I traded it in. It was just.
So I played Brilliant Diamond for the first time when it came out on the Switch. I played like early Gen 1, almost Gen 2. I'm very much a Gen 1 boy. And that was one of those ones that fell off my radar. Of course, I knew Pokemon and their games and stuff like that, but it just wasn't something I was playing growing up. I was playing other things. So I let those titles all slide by. And now I play probably more Pokemon now than I did then. But I didn't get to play it until it came out on the Switch. And I blew through that game, but again, as an adult and as someone who has limited time, I didn't get time to collect every Pokemon, fill the decks or whatever because of mostly because of a stream schedule. But I burned through it, and then that was it. I haven't touched it since.
That's it. It's like there's a certain level of how much time you can sink into Pokemon. For example, the last Pokemon game I put a few good hours into was Sword, when Sword and Shield first came out. So we completed the Pokedex for those. Collecting the shinies, though, on the other hand, no. That is very time consuming.
Nope, I don't have time.
It was a case of
Good luck, everybody.
for me chucking a Twitch stream on, and then just running back and forth hatching eggs and just hoping for a shiny.
Oh.
And then it got to the point of, yeah, I give up now. I can't remember which Pokemon. It might have been Aaron trying to get that because the shiny third form looked really cool. It's 600 odd eggs in them. It's like, I'm done. Let's move on to
that is a
else.
commitment. I honestly, to those who do it, either do it for fun or do it for content, like all the power to you. I always think, I'm like, that'd be so cool to have them, and then I think about what goes through it. I'm like, I am not doing that.
I will say for the Pokemon shiny stuff, when you see someone have really bad RNG and just see the descent into madness.
Yeah.
I remember it was Mr. Happy, one of his streams. I think it was one of the Reggies, and it was 1,000 in, and his soul had left his body by then.
But the payoff when he gets it would have blown his mind and everybody. So it's so happy to actually see them get it. But yeah, it is. That's what I mean. They make an event of it. It's a whole thing.
It's when you see people's reaction, because I've seen the videos, like you said, streamers catching a shiny, and I see them their reaction, and originally I was like, why? They're overreacting, surely, until I realized actually what's the percentage chance of getting said egg, and I was like, okay, fair enough. Like their response.
How long did they spend on this single shiny?
Yeah. Thousands of pulls and thousands of eggs, and God knows how much time you put into it, and it's just spamming over.
Oh, what's their playtime currently? 4,000 hours. Okay.
Yeah, 10 of those hours were playing the story.
Yeah, before the community really took off with shiny hunting, the only person I knew put silly hours into Pokemon was one of Ash's chums, who used to just fall asleep with their Game Boy on, so the hours just kept clocking up because they fell asleep.
Yeah, Luke, my friend Luke, he used to play Final Fantasy 11 with me, and he's one of these. He's like I don't know if you have seen the advert. Is it the Duracell battery with the little rabbit? He's on the little drum kit, and then he runs out of battery and he just kind of slow powers down and stops. My friend works very much the same. We used to play 11. He'd be on headset, and I'd be talking, and suddenly he'd just stop talking mid sentence. And his character would stop moving, and we'd be in mid-battle, and then I'm getting my ass handed to me, and I'm like, Luke, are you there? And you just start hearing snoring down the headset.
Heal,
like,
heal,
oh
heal.
no! And he's gone.
Yep, that's commitment.
Yeah, and he'd do the same on Pokemon. Like, yeah, he'd rack up about 800 hours, and I think about maybe 40 of those are actual playtime.
Yeah, idle. The rest of it's just idle and eggs. God.
To be fair, I have to say that's like my 14 time. Most of that is probably just idle. Where I'm logged in, I've gone to make a cup of tea or made food. Or
yeah, definitely.
Waiting for people
I think we all have those hours that are just hanging out in Limsa or doing whatever, while actually multitasking or doing other things.
Like I know over in NA, it's Balmung that you avoid to quicksand. Over years like Limsa, you just don't know what you get on any day.
It's funny because I can't remember who said what server it was. Maybe it was Balmung. But they said it was the same thing, but they said it was in Thanalin. Or Goblet area. They're like, you stay away from there. I'm like, and it's so funny because it's different for different servers. Most of the areas you do think Limsa is like the hub. Because it's such an easy travel point. But I can't remember.
And also how close it is to the market board. That's the biggest thing.
I think I see
I mean, it's there for convenience, but it's more than that now. But
I think I see like a running joke with Limsa that when they it was like a meme where their parents walked into the bedroom, they quickly switch over to Google like if they were watching porn and they had to hide it.
Nothing.
I'm not in the land of degenerates.
No.
Nothing. I didn't mean to. I clicked Limsa by accident.
To keep partly with today's show theme, has horror games always been a part of what you've been into?
Yeah, just horror in general. Yeah. I mean, it coincides with video games, but speaking of a game that I don't have to put in many hours, I mean, I do, but I think that's one thing I love about Dead by Daylight is that I can play these long RPGs, but when I only have 30 minutes, I can log in, get a quick survivor match or a quick killer match, and then hop out and I'm done. But horror itself, yes, has always been ingrained. It's something that I love. As a genre, I mean, just in general, not even necessarily tied into gaming, but of course it makes its way into that as a media. Big horror fan, always have been ever since as a kid. I was the kid who was watching horror slashers at a very young age who probably shouldn't have been.
How are you with do you have a VR headset? Have you played like
I
any
don't.
horror
I don't
games?
have VR. No, but I did. My only VR experience was horror. Uh, PAX West. I was there for the VR reveal of Resident Evil 7.
Yep.
And yeah, so that was my only time I really got to do VR. It was awesome. So in PAX they had like the entire like swamp, basically the backwater swamp house, basically for RE7. It was a whole thing. So you had to sign up. I had a ticket with a time. I had to be there at whatever. I get in there, so you go into this creepy house, and they basically sit you down. It's basically a TV and a chair, and you put on your headset. And basically they said you don't have to move. You just got to stay in the chair. So I do, and the simulation starts, and I can't remember which character you are, but basically how the simulation played out was you start the VR and you look down and you're tied to a chair. That's why they don't want you to get up, because your character's tied down to the chair.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there looking around doing whatever with the headset. There's my buddy on the floor who's injured. He sort of comes to, and he's like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. He comes over and and you're looking at your hands, and he's starting to like try to untie the ropes, and I can't remember what her name was, but basically creepy spider chick starts crawling in the room, and your character's basically bound. You're not meant to move anywhere. And she attacks him and kills him, and you're just panicking. You're looking all over, and there's the whole kitchen and everything. It was really cool. The scariest part was you're looking down, you can see your own your own legs or whatever. While he's fighting this creature and you're tied down, she grabs a knife and basically stabs you right in the top of your leg. And the simulation basically ends with your buddy dying, and she disappears, but right before it ends, she crawls on top of you from the behind and basically kills you right then and there. It was awesome. And I've never done anything like that since. I don't have VR. I don't have the space for VR, which is why I never invested in it. But between horror and VR, that's the only experience I had, and I would definitely recommend it. RE7 was awesome.
That was the kitchen demo, and when I bought my PlayStation VR headset, I no longer have it, but I bought it purely for the purpose of Skyrim and Resident Evil 7. And first of all, we downloaded the kitchen demo, and myself, well, I same as you, it was like that. This is terrifying but incredible. My brother tried out, and we said we should let our mum get my mother on it and let her try. And I think I must have wiped at least another 5 years off my poor mother's life watching that.
Just try it.
She was trying to.
It's fun.
She was in the computer chair, and she was trying to push away, and we're like, "No, take the headset off. You can't wheel away from it."
No, you realize you just you get into it. Some people get really immersed.
The main Final Fantasy, the main Resi 7 game though, because you could play the game wasn't just a VR only copy, like where the VR version of Skyrim was a VR only game. With Resi 7, you could play standard or in VR, and I think I played VR up until the part where it's we see that it's his girlfriend, like where she's like all contorted, kind of crawling up the stairs, and it's all in the dark when you're coming down from the attic. And I took the headset off and went,
Yeah,
"Done. I'll play the game, but not like that."
Yeah. You said mine during now. It's like, let's give it a go, and you just went, nope.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Because it's the 3D surround as well, so you could hear it's screeching as well. It's horrifying.
Yeah, it was wild to be able to like I said, I only did it in the one room, but it was wild to be able to literally kind of do one of these, and everywhere I looked, there was the entire kitchen surrounding as far as I could turn my head at least.
I noticed
pretty
that
immersive,
the little bit I played of the main game, it was a case of the extra immersion, you being able to pop your head one way and actually peek around the corners and stuff.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, they do some crazy stuff with it.
I know one of
they
the
do
fun
more
horror
going
games
forward.
for like the VR stuff is Alien Isolation.
Yep.
Mainly because if you got your microphone on, it can actually listen into the microphone. So you just don't want any of your friends around and go, just get out.
That was one I never got to play. It's on my list though. Speaking of an endless amount of games, never played Alien Isolation. Surprisingly.
Could be a horror game for the year.
Yes, it could.
Aliens,
I'll get around to it.
that's a franchise where there's more duds than there is like
Yeah,
good games.
but luckily
like,
Isolation
but
stood out from the
was
pack.
good.
That's an add the helpless person vibe to it.
Yeah, they just announced what remaking Dead Space.
Yes.
Is that what they're doing? They're I don't know if they're just rebooting it or upgrading the graphics or whatever.
They have shown off a trailer for it. I think they're doing it in Unreal 5. It looks amazing. It looks creepy as holy hell.
That'll be something I'll dive into when it comes out.
Yeah,
That's
I remember playing the demo. That was one of the first demos I played on either the PS3 or the 360. I'm just like, this is cool. This weapon, I can actually cut off limbs and stuff.
Wasn't it
remember.
Dead Space? Wasn't it Nightmare Mode? Believe it was the hardest difficulty. Or so. All I can remember my friend playing it, and at the start, the tutorial where you actually haven't got no weapons. There's a scene where you just have to run and you're getting chased. And if you play in the lower difficulties, it's kind of like a tutorial where it just that's how it plays out, and you don't get killed. But apparently, if you put it in the higher settings, you could actually get killed in that scene, even though you're completely defenseless.
Yeah, they give you nothing, and then it's just to go from there. Good luck. See ya. No, that'll be on my agenda eventually. I did play Dead Space 1. We were just talking about that on stream. PS3? PS3 or 360?
Yeah, PS3 and 360.
I own both. I have no idea which one I played it on, but I did dabble with the first one, and then 2 and 3, and I just had other things going on, so I never got around to them.
Yeah, from what the community say in general, yeah, Dead Space 1, brilliant. Dead Space 2, still pretty good. Number 3 doesn't exist.
That's what I hear. They suggest some co-op stuff, I think, as well, or at least that's what chat was telling me prior. But I look forward to it. I try to get my hands on what horror games I can, and again, it's when I can make the time. I always dedicate extra time throughout the year. October is basically horror month for me, where gaming wise, I try to squeeze in at least a couple playthroughs of something. Last year we did Silent Hill 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Dead by Daylight, like I said, it's super easy to just spam that whenever. Was that all we did? I thought I squeezed something else in there, but Silent Hill.
Those are the ones I remember jumping into your stream for.
Oh, Resident Evil 8. I did Resident Evil 8 that month, I think.
Oh,
too.
yeah, probably.
Awesome.
I think that would release around then. Yeah. Speaking of RPGs and horror, a series that we talked about in our first episode, the Shadow Hearts trilogy. Was that one that was ever on your radar?
Did you say Shadow Hearts?
Yeah.
Nope.
It's
not on my radar.
Yeah. It was published by Capcom, but it was very much a horror game, but with RPG mechanics. It started off on the PS1 as a game called Kedelka, which is like Dark Souls. It is insanely hard. You lose your ammo in your first fight, and you're screwed for the rest of the game. But it is a really cool, dark, horror-styled game. It's creepy as anything.
What about Parasite Eve?
Oh, the Parasite Eve.
You're mentioning Resident Evil here.
Yeah.
Never played it. I know it. I know Parasite Eve. I never played it. Never played
what
it.
also was around that time? Fear Effect?
No. I'd have to pull up a list. Stuff like growing up. I don't know. See, and like I said, I was big into horror as a kid, but when it came to horror video games, I'm trying to think of what was in early on. Like I said, I just played Silent Hill for the first time last year.
And that was a massive.
These were all things that were on my radar. You know what's funny? I remember as a kid, I used to watch because I had have my older brother who would play some of this stuff, so I used to watch him play stuff like that too. So we were talking about freaking Friday the 13th game on Nintendo NES. As a kid, I'm like, this game is terrifying. Going through the campgrounds and stuff like that. It's one of my favorite franchises, though. But I'm trying to think as early consoles what I would have played. Like, these are all series that I knew but didn't necessarily own. Like, even stuff like Doom, where a lot of Alien stuff or I mean, that stuff's more heavy action, but it definitely has some horror elements to
Yeah.
it. Some of it's more creepy, some of it's more action based. I don't know. I remember like the Splatterhouse games,
Yeah, I
things
remember.
like that. But even from console to console,
And Reloaded, particularly, it wasn't necessarily horror, but
That was PS1, wasn't it?
wait, which one?
Reloaded.
I think. I don't know. But no, I mean, like I said, for horror, even DBD, like I've been playing DBD for 5 years. Um, it's about to hit its 6th anniversary, and what brought me to the game, even though I knew it existed, I was focused heavy on 14 at the time because I didn't start playing DBD until my first year of streaming. And what got me so excited for it, even though I knew the game had existed, it was sort of on my radar, but I wasn't making time for it. And then they released Leatherface DLC, and I'm like, okay, I gotta play. I gotta check it out.
Yeah,
I
you
have
Well,
such
see
a
a
soft
killer
spot
you
for
want,
them.
it's like,
Did have you picked up the new Evil Dead game?
Hell yeah.
By any chance? Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm quite a I'm very much a single player person. That's why I prefer my RPG games. But I think Paul and a few others in our Final Fantasy 14 FC have kind of swayed me into playing some of these like 3 against 1, 4 against 1 games, and I love the Evil Dead series. I remember watching it
It's
as a kid as well, and like Army of Darkness, I can remember watching that when I was like 7 years of age, and it was
Mhm.
fantastic. It was even creepy, but I think when you get older, the humor kind of sticks out
Yeah,
more.
you see it in a different
Yeah,
light than
yeah.
you did as a kid. I just rewatched. I haven't watched rewatched Army of Darkness yet, but since it came out, I watched Evil Dead 1 and 2 again.
I'm so
And
glad. Is it New Line Cinema because they had the rights to Army of Darkness, but Evil Dead they had
did
to
they
kind of
have it
keep
for
them
that?
separate,
yeah, for
but
Ash versus Evil Dead, he couldn't get rights to
they
anything
couldn't get the
Army of
rights to it.
Darkness
Oh,
related.
okay.
But the video game, you've got the two knights from Army of Darkness as playable
Yeah.
characters as well. So it's
they
pretty
managed
Yeah,
to
they
get
cool.
got
rights for the
everything
entire
from
thing.
every franchise. They made it work because there's characters from each movie and the show, as far
Yeah,
as I can
So
tell.
when you get into the Ash vs Evil Dead TV series, they had to change the place that Ash works from, Smart, to probably like Kmart or somewhere else.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So
They
like
I
even though
I
it was bleeding on from the ending where Ash has his boomstick in the grocery shop,
yeah.
the,
Mhm.
it was bleeding from
Oh,
that.
that's
They just
right.
couldn't
Yes.
reference
Yeah.
the events of that film.
I
I
mean,
hope it
go
gets
ahead.
picked up again. I hope that gets picked up by a network. They have to. It was so good.
Well, doing another movie next, if I recall.
Yeah, but it's in it doesn't follow Ash though, doesn't it? It follows
The
It
last time I
depends
heard
what
it
they're
was
gonna
having
do
both
with it.
Ashes.
We'll see. I, you know what's funny? I have love and respect for the Ash series, but I'm as just a horror fan in general. I love the remake. It has nothing to do with Ash. A lot of it is very similar.
Yeah, it was a
But
good film in its own right.
it is. I mean, this is a much more intense and scary and bloody and gory splatter fest kind of
yeah,
movie.
You
it's
go
not a
from
And I
Bruce
think they did a
Campbell
great
with
job,
the
whether it
B
was
movie.
under the Evil Dead franchise or not. It was just a good horror movie. It hit all the right spots. I think they did well, even if it has, you know what I mean. Like, I can understand from a franchise point of view, the people who, especially who are like the diehard fans. It's hard in the horror genre when it comes to sequels and remakes and stuff because they all suffer for it. And some of them sort of thrive and make something new, and some of them you're just like, you're shitting on my childhood
it's
remaking these movies.
it's quite like I know it kind of deviating here a little bit because it's supposed to be video games, but obviously I know we're swaying a bit more into films, but it follows the whole horror genre. But like with horror films, I've got a few favorites of mine being the 1985 Day of the Dead, Ravenous, which is a Guy Pearce,
Mhm.
and Robert Carlyle. Uh, but like one that stands out for me is 1408 as well. It's quite hard to pinpoint what I class a horror for me. It's something that makes you feel uncomfortable and just
Mhm.
quite claustrophobic in that sense for me. So that's what 1408 is. because it's not scary in the sense that it's jumpy and there's lots of gore and blood,
But
but
there's
there's
those
not.
elements that are involved, and I think that's why I like horror so much. Is that it can be have so many different subgenres. Um,
And you can really see its
it doesn't have to
inspiration
be a
in gaming.
slasher or a blood fest or whatever. It can just genuinely be creepy or have these darker, heavier moments that just genuinely freak you out, whether it be something visual or something psychological or whatever. And I think that's why I like the genre so much. That's one of the reasons why I like it so much.
But you can
I
tell that all these horror movies, how they influence games, not just horror games, but just cult references in random games across the board.
there is I don't know if you haven't watched these, but there are two British made, and I would say low budget, but not necessarily B movie horror films, but they are
Sure.
very good horror films. There was 28 Days Later. It
Yep.
was that good that they made
Love it.
28 Weeks Later.
Hmm.
There's also another one called Dog Soldiers.
Yep. Oh yeah, I
Yep,
know it.
that fantastic. Those
Hmm.
two, you can see that
Yeah, those are
you can
just
make
sort of the ones that are. I mean, 28 Days was later is
it's,
much more known, but Dog Soldiers is so under
yeah,
the radar, but
it's
very well done.
it just goes to show you can make a really good horror film on not a massive budget.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree. It's a big reason why I love DVD so much too. It's such a love letter, and
Yeah.
it's like Smash only horror characters. To a degree, it's not every day you get a game with not only all these original killers who either their theme or their powers reflect all different types of kind of horror, but then you get these horror icons. The fact that they're able to get all these licenses and bring them into one game together um, was a
Yeah,
huge.
I think a lot of that's due to the fact that he'll just call, Pinhead, he'll just call him the Cenobite. They'll get away from the
Well,
name.
that's the thing is they sort of have to. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the theme they went through with early in, but even though it is him, they sort of stuck with the theme, calling the different killers different. They always call him the
Yeah.
something, but um, I think, and it's cool to see it now. So DVD's always been growing as a game, like especially in the streaming world. I think they just announced during their 6th anniversary, they just held a live event they do every year. They said on Twitch, DBD has stayed in the top 20 streamed games for years now, which is pretty solid, especially for a horror game. You know, as a horror fan or anybody who really enjoys the genre, when it's like super important for us to celebrate victories, I think. And that even goes for gaming. Like Evil Dead, it's funny because some people trash and be like, it's trying to take down DBD. No, we should be celebrating the fact that a AAA horror game is doing so well right now because
Yeah.
it is a tough genre to break
Even though
into.
they might be 4v1, they are both very different games in
Yeah.
their style.
Oh, they absolutely have their
Like
differences.
when I
There's
jumped
things
into
that
your first
I
stream and just seen you jump into a jeep and actually exploring a map. So like this is crazy.
yeah.
And then you have the demons come after you or the deadites or whatever killer you're up against. So
Yep.
they are hordes.
It's the easiest thing to compare to.
Yeah.
From like a mainstream, it's the easiest thing to just be like, well, it feels the same. And I mean, there's some similarities between the two. Actually, it reminds me a lot of Friday the 13th as well.
Yeah.
But it certainly plays different, and it's definitely its own game. But I can see why people would try and compare it, I guess. But it's been refreshing to a degree. Not that DBD is getting stale by any means, but it's nice
Yeah,
to have
well,
something
it
else
hit 32
that
million
hits that
users
same sort
last
of
year.
vibe. What's that?
It hit 32 million users last year.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
I
With
found it on
DVD,
Wiki
like
earlier,
DVD
just
itself
said
blew
notes.
up again.
Yeah.
The big thing, it's cool to see again from a longtime player. Uh, Resident Evil, when they brought that chapter in with Nemesis, the player base just went. Everybody was excited
Yeah, I
for.
heard it did that with that and Stranger Things.
Yeah, yeah, they were massive. It's too bad that they had to pull the DLC for it, but it's nice that we were able to get it at all. I always wondered with the Evil Dead game, are they gonna pull Ash? But nothing's happened yet. They did it with Stranger Things, but Ash is still in the store, so you can still buy his character.
But I had my first crash course in DBD because I hadn't played it till quite recently, and I kind of played survivor with the other guys and kind of took turns. I think I got killed the first 2 times, but then managed to escape on the third time. And then it was like great, and like, oh, do you want to play the killer now? And I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll be that good. Or and I was pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a case of making him was out. We're doing a show on
managed to
Monday.
kill
You
all
need to
of
play
them.
the killer to talk about it.
Yep, I managed to kill all of them.
How have you guys been enjoying? So you're both pretty new to DBD
Yeah.
now. You guys just started playing it together.
I just hit
How are
play
you guys
level
enjoying your
7.
matches? Are you preferring one or the other, or is it still too early to tell?
Like I was saying to you before we started the show, it was a case of when we are playing against people across the internet, it's very much more horror. You're on your seat a lot more going, shit, is that killer coming? Oh no. Oh. But when it's 5 of you all on a headset, with one of you as the killer, so
Coordinated.
Like, I hear you, you prick. Oh, come on, I can
Yeah.
see you. I can see you. You can't see me, but I see you.
Yeah,
It was-
it does make for a good party game when you have like a full group of people to play with. It becomes a different beast. But,
It does. It
yeah,
feels
playing
like 2
solo-
games in one.
You coordinate because it like whoever's playing the killer will kind of target someone, and you just get him to chase them, and then you get someone else working on the generators, and okay, he's coming back this way now.
Yeah,
Stop.
coordinated matches can feel so good sometimes when, especially if it's not even a full party, if it's just the 2 of you, or if you got a full 4 survivors. As a killer, as someone who plays both, it's as the survivor side, it's so nice to have coordination to really clear objectives and not to have too many shenanigans. Even then, even when you do have a coordinated group, it can totally turn against you. But as a killer, when I'm playing as a killer, I can tell immediately if there's like a coordinated group. A lot of the time, either their screen names, sometimes they share goofy stuff, or even just their play style, the way that they coordinate between each other. If I'm trying to target one survivor and the other 3 survivors are on me like nothing because they know. It is so frustrating but so satisfying when you can actually turn the tide yourself. But I most of my gameplay, it's funny because most of my gameplay has been solo. I do some survivor matches I've done with friends, or stream team stuff we've done occasionally, or the occasional stream where I've had chat jump in and hop in with some survivor stuff with me. But yeah, it's a different beast when you're all by yourself and completely uncoordinated. It can be so frustrating, or you can just plow through it like a champ and it feels so good. But it depends what you're playing. I mean, survivor can be, I don't know, I have so many mixed emotions when I go through my matches. I go from like giddy to terrified to so angry to like celebrating because of how anything plays out. Some matches are completely thrown and some are just so clutch. Yeah, it gets me going. It's funny, it's the thing I like to play when I'm like too tired on stream. If I'm working night shifts or whatever and I'm don't want to do the chill thing and I'm like, I need to like snap out of it, I'll throw on DVD and just be like, let's get some matches going.
Yeah, get your
I need something to scare the crap out of me real quick.
I don't need
Perk you back
coffee,
up.
I just need a killer after me.
Yeah, I have a lot more fun as a killer, like fun as in like, as a killer, I'm either like super determined and frustrated because I can't catch them, or I'm having the goofiest time, just totally getting into the role. Where a survivor, I'm much more like, I definitely get, well, I mean, as a survivor, you deal with a lot more jump scares, whereas killer, you're the one causing them, or I'm either just having a laugh trying to manipulate the game as best I can. It's funny how it feels so different playing whatever role.
It was what I really liked about playing the killer was that when I kind of targeted someone and they knew that I was onto them and they started running, you could kind of see they were weaving in and out, and you could see where they were trying to block my path, but I could see where they were going, and I would kind of pop out the other end and catch them, and like it's a proper case of cat and mouse. But if you can like outsmart them, it kind of
Exactly
definitely shits them up.
One
It
thing I've
feels so good,
noticed
too.
as a brand new player, playing as Survivor when I was doing a couple of solo matches just to give it a quick go, was if you was against a new killer, the matches stretched out for a bit because it wasn't sure what they're doing. But when you were against a pro killer as a newbie, that match was over in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it certainly goes both ways. Yeah, as a newer survivor, as a newer survivor against a newer killer, yeah, it can take some time because not only as a survivor, you're sort of getting used to understanding the map or knowing where generators are or being able to see certain things or even just understanding certain perks. There'll be certain things going off on your screen, and as a newer player, you may not know what that necessarily means or what that perk even is. And as a killer, you're just spending time trying to get used to using your power, let alone trying to find anybody to hit. Yeah, I've done some very long matches, and then I've done some very short ones. I just did one the other day, and as a survivor, we had a pretty coordinated group of just randoms, and you can tell, like, we'll get going, and all of a sudden these gens are going really quick, and it's like, okay, you can tell just by their gameplay or the way that they're chasing, and not to be like harsh or mean or anything, but you're like, okay, this is a
Not missing any of the skill
you can
checks.
tell, you're like, okay, this killer is new. They're clearly trying to learn how to use Wraith or whatever they're playing, and you sort of roll with it. But it's something that it's, I think, just naturally, whether it be chases or how your party performs, or vice versa. If you're the killer and you just understand how the survivors are playing, you can over time you'll be able to tell, like, these guys are still trying to understand what's going on here. And then you get the sweaty tryhards where it's the opposite, and you're just like, man, I was just trying to get a good match in, and they're totally just running me in circles. It's it definitely goes both ways over time.
Yeah, but it has been a good laugh. One of the first games when I was playing with two of our other buddies, just getting used to it, all of us, our senses were heightened, and I just went up to a generator. One buddy was there, and he just screamed as I got out. So it's just me.
I think that's awesome.
The killers that can hide your presence so you don't hear the heartbeat and they just appear, those are the worst.
Yeah, the silent killers are the scariest.
Which is the one with the bell.
The Wraith. Yeah.
The Wraith. One of our FC friends was he was hiding his presence, but then he was just ringing the bell every time he came close to us.
Yep.
It was adding more humor to the effect before he got killed.
Don't forget he was also doing Bing Bong as he was doing it in game.
Yep. Mr. Bing Bong. Yeah, it's funny because you'll get into some meme matches. Like just matches that are a total throwaway. There's people who like want to camp blood points and stuff. You won't know what the hell's happening, and the killer's just like acting really funny, and they're chasing you, but they're not chasing you, and you're wondering like, what the hell is going on with this match? Why is things going slow, or why are they doing what they're doing? And you clue in because you can't speak if you're playing with randoms. That you just have to use their motions and realize that they don't even want to play seriously. So I get those matches a few times, and it's like sometimes I just roll with it. I'm like, well, they're not taking it seriously, then all they want to do is farm points. You get points, they get points, they let you go. Sometimes they'll kill you. It's a total wash. But yeah, it's funny how you can turn something that starts out pretty scary into a total joke in the end. I find it pretty entertaining.
What do you think of the two different wiggle controls?
I love the new one. Thank God they're implementing that. As a controller user, so it's funny. I actually play controller on Survivor more than anything, but when I play Killer, I play mouse and keyboard.
Oh, I play this through Epic on PC, and it hates my gamepad. It does not pick this up. So it's like, I have to play keyboard and mouse. Fine.
That is an Epic thing.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing with me in Evil Dead. I had to play Evil Dead with mouse and keyboard until I had to reinstall DS4 Windows.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm going to have to do.
The new wiggle controls, I love them. They're going to keep them too. They just announced in their anniversary video.
It feels like your meter goes up faster with the new system, because it being a skill check based.
It does go faster. I think it just goes smoother.
Yeah.
So before they implemented this, did you guys try the original one?
Yeah.
Where you have to like wiggle with the friggin'.
Oh, for me, you're just AD, just going.
Yeah. Click, 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 click. I mean, that wasn't the choice. We had to do. That's just how it was for the last 5 years, 6 years almost.
Yeah, carpal tunnel after your second wiggle.
Yeah. Oh, it was awful. It's unless you got super lucky or someone helped block you. I was terrible at trying to wiggle, especially because, like I said, I play controller for most of my Survivor matches. I've done mouse and keyboard too, and I've won matches with it, but I'm just more comfortable with it. I'm mostly the camera. I'm terrible at turning my camera around. which is super important in chase. When you're in chase, if you're able to look over your shoulder while being able to run and not run into walls and stuff, yeah, you'll end up playing much better. If you can sort of see where the killer is going or might be going, and it's that whole cat and mouse thing. But using your friggin' joystick and just circle, 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 circle. As soon as they implemented it, I haven't turned it off since, and they're gonna keep it, thank God.
Yeah.
So
Have you
I'm all
changed
for
yours at all, Ash?
Sorry?
Have you changed your wiggle control at all in game?
No, I still have the analog. So so you're saying it's round and round, isn't it? That's I'm still using that.
Yeah. So if you turn on the beta now, if you play with the controller, now it's just the clock basically, or the timer goes back and forth. And you just have to click L1, 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 and just hit it in the right zone, and it just progresses for you. It's easier.
I think I might switch over to that.
And it's
highly
because
recommend
it's
it.
in the beta, it gives you blood points for using it as well.
Yeah, and you get blood points for trying out the beta. But they confirm they're going to
I-
implement it. So
I made the mistake when it was my first kind of crash course of playing as the killer. I was chasing someone and they didn't get the board down to stop me in time. But I thought it glitched. I thought they successfully jumped over and ran off. And I was walking around just like, where have they gone? And I didn't realize I was carrying them until they managed to wiggle out my and run away.
yeah, you pulled them off probably.
God. I was holding them the entire time.
Yep, I've absolutely done that. I hit them or whatever. I grab them through a window, and I'm looking for them. I'm like, did I miss? And not even cluing in. It takes a minute, and then I realize, I'm like, oh my God, I've been carrying them that whole time.
My character's not strafing from a wiggling. What's going on?
So is there any killers or survivors in particular that have piqued your interest?
So as Survivor, I've been playing as Bill. It's the only one I've actually used. It's just like, he's a gruff old guy. He has something in his mouth all the time. You know, it's cool. It reminds me of classic horror, badass sort of thing. As Killer, I'm really enjoying the nurse at the minute. Like, one of my games I really enjoy just as a fun is Dishonored. And you can blink with that. Oh, more blinking, eh? And see the fact that you can go up elevation and down and through walls and stuff. It's like, yeah, you're going around that corner. I'm blinking through there too, you mate.
Yeah, the nurse is wild. I was saying before, she's if you can master learning how she plays, she is pretty much S tier in every tier list that anybody ever makes. She's always near the top. She's in the top 2 almost in every tier list, and for good reason. I don't actually play her that much, but with the right setup and the right perks and the right builds and stuff, she's a force. So it's a good killer to practice on, definitely.
What about you, Ash?
Well, in my crash course, the only one I have actually played currently is the Doctor, which I obviously you lot played as different killers, and I did like the Wraith, but I think I enjoyed the Doctor as well. Because again, I'm just kind of working out the different perks that you can add, and I think one of the perks that I had added was that you could if you catch someone who's been caught already and hung up already, that you can just kill them there and then. And like he just kind of grabbed their head and just cooked them alive.
Yeah,
that's a good execution.
Yeah, you did that to me, and my camera glitched through the floor. So I was just walking at Bill's face as he was killing me.
Yeah, the Doctor was my first killer when I first started playing DBD. I think I started like a lot of people do. I think it's just more comfy to start as a survivor and get used to the game, because killer is just generally more intimidating. As a survivor, you know, there's 4 of you and you can kind of work together and good luck. Whereas the killer, it's like it's all on you to make things happen. So and adjusting to like their different powers and stuff like that. But for my first playthrough, so I started as survivor. I started as Dwight. I played a lot of Dwight and Claudette when I first started playing. But my first killer to get to 50 was Doctor. Doctor and Leatherface, I think.
You played
who I focused on first.
No, I've played Hillbilly Trapper and Nurse.
Hillbilly. Yeah, I wasn't surprised by your choice to play Hillbilly, though. He's a big Devil's Rejects fan, so anything we can run around with a chainsaw, like, so, yeah, fit in.
I was certainly put something behind me to put my Captain Spaulding on.
Yep. Oh, yeah, big Devil's Rejects fan. Absolutely.
Well, just to go on a tangent, you excited for the new Monsters film?
Are they doing a new Monsters? I didn't know they were.
Rob Zombie.
Zombie finally got the rights to do it.
Oh, you know what? I did know that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, anything Rob Zombie does. Absolutely. His stuff is not for everybody, but
Yeah.
I like pretty much all of his stuff. Some of it's not my favorite, but I like his style of
Yeah,
filmmaking.
I think 13
sure.
Hours or whatever it was called is the only one I wasn't a huge fan of. The one where it was all the old people and he was just hiring professional killers to kill these abductees.
Oh, the 31, the Halloween one.
Yeah, that's the one, 31, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I thought it
that
wasn't a
one's-
huge fan of.
That one suffered too because that was a Kickstarter project, which I backed. Yeah, not my favorite. It has its moments, but yeah, when it comes to his movies, that one's not. There was some slight disappointment, especially backing it.
Little
I feel the same way about the Friday the 13th game. I backed that game too. On
Yeah, it's
Kickstarter.
a
I
shame
was
that
so
they
excited
just
for it.
run into all our licensing issues.
Yeah, it's ran into a lot of issues.
Because
But like
it
I
was
said,
a cool
there's
looking game to watch.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely a nice twist, but it's funny because I played DVD first, then I went to Friday the 13th, and I played it enough that it just made me want to go back to DVD. It made me appreciate DVDs so much more too.
I think part of what didn't help it is with DVD, even though the maps are pretty similar in some ways, there's a Westgate and Eastgate usually to get out and generators. But with Friday, because it was only ever Jason, fair enough, there was variants on the Jason powers and stuff. Just having that one killer.
Yeah,
like if they manage to get other franchises,
it's only good to go so far.
Yeah.
Whereas they can constantly add variety to something like DVD. It's very smart that
It
they're
would've
able
been
to
cool if they
expand and
had-
just add these different things. Because when you get a game like that, and not, I wouldn't even say quite like the Evil Dead even as well. I mean, it's still too early to tell with that one, but with Evil Dead, I don't think it'll be the case with Evil Dead. I mean, you got a couple new killers. Who knows what they're going to add in the future for DLC and stuff too, right? But yeah, I mean, Friday the 13th sort of pigeonholed itself into these particular survivors. I mean, they gave you different Jasons, which was badass.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was the same Jason with the same powers for the most part. It also was so super glitchy. It was a fun party game. I had more laughs in that game than anything. I wasn't very good at playing Jason though. I play the survivors, and that's where I think the comparison to Evil Dead is. The objectives are much more varied, whereas the objectives in DBD are incredibly straightforward. Fix the generators, open the door, and leave. Whereas this one, there's multiple ways to.
Yeah, and you
escape,
actually
right?
have narration when you get into the game.
Mm-hmm. So it was good for a laugh for a bit, and then they ran into all these law problems.
One thing I
lawsuits
think
and
could have
stuff,
really
but-
worked for Friday the 13th, that style of game, is doing something a bit like a Warzone or a Fortnite, having seasons where it swaps between different killers from different franchises. So you'd have the Camp Crystal Lake for the Jason stuff, then it'd swap to Helm Street and you're dealing with Freddy again, dragged into Nightmares. And
Yep.
like,
Yeah,
having
I mean,
that would have helped the life cycle of that style of game.
Yeah, that stuff's important for longevity, I think. And I think DBD's starting to take that approach. Like they're starting to do like their whole tomes and their riffs and stuff.
Yeah. So
Where
have
you
the
get bonus
passes.
incentives for playing so much, and they're gonna implement like a roll and need, sort of like 14, where basically if it's very heavy survivor side and they need more people to queue up as killers to make matchmaking go faster, they're actually implementing that, so it'll say killer in need or survivor in need, and they'll give you bonus blood points just by playing one or the other.
And,
That quality of life stuff is super important, and I think it's just gonna keep DVD growing and doing better than it currently has.
yeah,
It's
with
come a long
having
way.
another Resident Evil thing coming down the line, that's probably
Yeah.
going to drag some more people in. Because
That'll
was
be
he saying
cash
on
grab.
stream
I'm
that
all
they
for
shut
it.
off Wesker? Like, whether you'll be a part
Yeah,
of it or
they
not
didn't
is-
show him, but they I mean, it's called Project W, and it's basically, from the footage you see, it's obviously Wesker watching from afar. So who knows what they'll actually implement? It's very vague. If it'll be Wesker himself or
Yeah,
just
we might have a Wesker survivor just to flip everything you know on top of your head.
Who knows? I mean, they could really turn it on its head. There's a lot of characters to choose from, right? So
Yeah, I
if
think
they,
after all the memes from Resi 2 remake, Mr. X as the killer would be.
I wouldn't say no. I think they're going to be successful no matter who they put in. So
Yeah.
I got this one that because I had to flip through my PlayStation list of games. I remember playing this one back during the start of the lockdown with a few friends, and it was The Forest. So it was kind of
Oh,
like
yeah.
7 Days to Die, isn't it? It's a survival horror, so it's a kind of you, but it was more kind of you have to build your camp up, isn't it?
Eat,
Yeah.
drink, all that.
I didn't play it, but it was very much those are like those very solo, isolated style ones where I don't know. Does it get like progressively worse as time goes on? You're basically supposed to survive
But
the X amount of time.
it is a 2 to 4 player as well, so
Hmm.
it there's kind of that strategic where you kind of had to help build the camp up because I
Okay.
think it gets harder when there's multiple people playing. But yeah, it does have that survival element. Like in because I know with 7 Days to Die, for example, you would have the occasional zombie here and there, but then they would obviously come to that seventh day where you hope that the defenses that you've built up in the previous few days leading up to that day can hold withstand what's coming because it's just a horde and it's that gets quite entertaining then because that can freak you out a little bit. But then also it can make it if you made the defense really well, it kind of makes it a bit entertaining because you just build like big pits and just drop them all in there.
Point and laugh.
Just sit there in your little throne on top like untouchable. Like I'm fine.
I like that. I like that you can have these sort of multiplayer games with that aspect, and it's all about coordination and survival together in one way or another. I think those are cool.
Yeah, The Forest has done really good in terms of a stream atmosphere as well, with four of you having your perspective on like doing a Cadga stream or something. Just
Yeah,
seeing
there's a
how
lot of these I
everything's-
never ended up getting to play. The other big one was the Phasmo, right? Phasmo was a big thing. Was it last year? The ghost hunting one?
Yeah.
Phasmophobia or whatever?
I think so.
So
Rings a
give us that
bell,
one.
at any rate. We talked a little while ago about horror movies, and Ash brought up, oh, bloody hell, the George A. Romero stuff. And that was a really
Yeah.
good segue I forgot earlier. We're back in the games, the Dead Rising series. Heavily inspired.
Absolutely. I didn't play it, but
I
I know
played
it,
a
of
bit.
course.
I played a
Dead
bit
Rising.
just to have a go and stuff, but in terms of horde-based zombies, the one that I played the most is Days Gone.
Wait, which one?
Days Gone, one where you're a
Oh,
biker.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, that was one that looked so. Yeah, what'd you think of that one?
Oh, it was an amazing game.
Yeah.
It's
that.
it's one of the games I'd put up there with Ghost of Tsushima and Horizon Zero Dawn, where it just feels like you're playing a movie rather than a game.
I love that. Get to
Even
play
though
that,
you're
like a whole
there
cinematic.
going through clip after clip, taking down this 400 zombie horde, each one acting differently. So you got ones that'll actually scalp off and try and flank you and stuff. So it's very horror in that style. So you try and funnel them in and set up tripwires and all this.
Then you have to remember to fill your bike up because
Yeah,
if you get
refill your
caught,
bike.
because what happens if you
That's cool.
don't fill it up and you run out of fuel and then you just
It still
stuck in
goes,
the-
but it goes like
Oh, right, you have to push it. Like, push it
pretty
essentially.
much. But or you run off to a gas station, you find a jerry can, and hope you're not dealing with too much of a horde on the way back to your bike.
Yeah. So all right, so if you're out riding like if a horde's chasing you, run out of fuel. That's
Oh,
quite
you're kind of
unfortunate.
screwed. Those hordes
cool.
are
It
fast, so
certainly
you
turns up
try
the
and
pressure too, right?
run through water that slows them down, or you try and get some elevation, or hope you haven't got murder crows nearby.
No,
But
I
it's
feel that
one
way.
of those games that the story's really well done. The character acting is really well done. You actually feel for Duncan, played by Sam Witwer. But it's just a solid game about. It's a virus outbreak, so they call freakers rather than zombies. But it's like It's a contrast to, say, a Last of Us style thing. Or
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of myself. Mm-hmm.
It has upbeat moments to it. You're going through it, and because it's not so linear, it doesn't feel as closed in as most horror games are. So it feels more like just an adventure game, and you got some horror attached to it. But it's a game that you could just sit down and just lose yourself playing.
I look forward to playing it eventually. It's again on the lengthy list of things I never got to tackle, but
if you're planning to beeline it, you could probably get it done in under 20 hours easy.
Oh, that's not bad.
I've got it sat on the PlayStation Plus collection. Came with the PS5.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
We'll pick it up and give it a go.
I do have that. Yeah, it's funny how the genre goes in waves like that. You know, the Zombie Nation, and then the wave of popularity by the style of horror, like well, I mean, Dead Rising. It's funny because I didn't play any of these. There was Dead Rising. There's Left 4 Dead, which is where Bill's from. These are games that I'm all fully aware of.
A new one.
Yeah, Back for Blood.
Did you get around to Back for Blood?
Ew.
That's a fun party game.
I think we had to wait for the difficulty to be toned down.
Oh yeah, we're playing on easy with 4 of us, and it was just like, what the hell? We're just getting murdered.
We thought we were crap until we read an article, and they were saying that there've been a lot of complaints, and they had to release a patch to tone down the difficulty. I'm like, oh well, we're not that bad.
Easy was basically hard, and hard was
impossible.
Think Midas Tier Savage back when it first came out, and you just couldn't finish it. Yeah, way
it's
too
wild to see some of these come and go in waves. I'm excited to see how Evil Dead does.
Yeah, it does
from the Twitch point of view, because a lot of these games like Back 4 Blood came out and it was sort of everywhere for a while. You know, just like how any new game is. Some of these games stick, and some of them are super viewable, super popular for few weeks, a month, whatever, and then you just see fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer people streaming it. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case for Evil Dead.
Well, I know with Back 4 Blood, they've got some new content coming soon, so they might see some sort of resurgence with that.
Yeah,
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think they did have some like Twitch integration based stuff for it as well.
Yeah, I think they did when it first came out. I mean, that's one way to sort of captivate your audience is being able to scoop up things like that. But that's one of the reasons why, I mean, it makes me so happy about something like Dead by Daylight to stay consistently in like a top 20 game for a horror game. It's just constantly being streamed.
I think that's a testament to its pick up and play and put down style.
Yep.
Yeah. I think Dead by Daylight will outlast the Evil Dead game. I have nothing like I said, I have nothing against the Evil Dead game. I probably pick it up myself, but because it's an Evil Dead themed game, like the source material it's got to work with is what it is, Evil Dead.
Kitty corners itself, right? So
yeah,
it's only going to be good for so long. Unless you're just making stuff up now.
Exactly. We're Dead by Daylight, like you said, the additional characters, they can borrow from other horror franchises as well, so it can still remain relevant and add more fresh content. Where kind of Evil Dead's kind of, like you said, they've pigeonholed themselves into that.
Yeah, you see that they could always try and get a right to do an in-game adaptation of what was it, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash versus Michael.
Hey. Try. That was always the dream.
Yeah, we might see that as DLC.
Yeah, but that's more likely to be something for Dead by Daylight to do than the Evil Dead game.
I mean, we basically have it. All we need is Jason, which is like impossible to get. I can guarantee you, if the rights were ever out of that terrible cluster of a lawsuit that they're dealing with, I think DB would scoop it up as soon as they can.
To be fair with Jason, you sort of have him in the Trapper a bit.
They do. I mean, that's what Trapper was basically a Jason knockoff when the game came out. Hillbilly was supposed to be a Leatherface knockoff. You know what I mean? Like, these are characters that they didn't own before they were able to get the rights. That they basically they fit that sort of niche, that sort of that style of character, and then they were actually getting licenses for them. So I think they're very lucky that not only can they can continue to just make original content, they're even adding more like lore and stuff like that. I mean, for a asymmetrical 4v1 horror game, you know, they build all these backstories and stuff, and they don't have to, but it certainly fleshes out the game and makes it more, I don't know, it just makes it more, I guess. Like they just keep adding to it. And I
Yeah, I
wish,
think at
the only
this
thing I
point,
wish was,
go on.
all I was gonna say is I think the thing I wish, even though they have such a high roster of things happening for it right now, I do wish that they'd almost take a step back and just focus on a lot of quality of life stuff, because a lot of that stuff shows as the game ages as well, between glitches or bad map design, or even things like perks being outdated, or just little quality of life stuff. I think that stuff's super important. I know they thrive on new chapters. It brings in a lot of hype every time they do one. So I do hope that at some point they actually, I wouldn't mind personally if they just took a tiny step back and be like, we're going to skip giving you a new chapter and instead work on internal stuff so we can build a better game for you long term, because it certainly has its moments. It's definitely not a perfect game, not anywhere close, but I think overall it's doing very well for itself. I think it's been very smart.
Like I said, last year it reached 36 million sales. There's currently 31 survivors and 28 killers. So yeah, a decent roster.
Yeah,
And
they do a killer like every 3 months. It's like every couple months they get
in
a
terms of
couple, either a
platforms
killer
at
or a
this point,
survivor or both.
yeah, in terms of platforms, it's on the PlayStation, on the Xbox consoles, Stadia, Switch,
It's on phone. It's on mobile
Yeah,
games.
it's everywhere.
Although I wish it was on. I just got my Steam Deck. It's not playable on the Steam Deck
Yeah.
yet. I was so sad. I didn't realize.
Oh, where's the Steam Deck?
I barely got to play it. I got it. I was so excited for it. 14 is not necessarily a thing yet. And I thought, well, at least I'll have DVD to fall back on. And then I went to go check it out the other day, and it's like, not compatible. I'm like, oh no, what am I going to play on it? I'm going to have to play Elden Ring or something on it. So I've only dabbled with the Steam store. I haven't actually played anything with it yet. It's hard. Realistically, with work and streaming, I don't get to game much outside of those stream hours. That's why I'm so limited to what I play.
Yeah.
All these games come and go, and if I'm not streaming it, I'm likely not playing it anytime soon.
Yeah,
So I'm happy my community in general is mostly pretty cool with DBD. I used to do it back in my earlier stream days. I used to do like a split. I do split stream. I'd start with 14. Like, hey, we're gonna play some DBD. I always thought it was so awkward because I'm like, these are two very different games. But it's funny because a lot of the community actually coexists within each other. But I think I'm pretty grateful that I can occasionally bring it out or do a split stream and just sneak in some matches just because I'm in the mood to play it, and have a majority of the community be down to, enjoy it with me, I guess.
Yeah. Always seems to be a good amount of people interacting with you, discussing whether this pick's good. Like when I was talking to you about building streams and what perks should I be looking at, like between you, said, oh, here was this one I can't remember the name. Then I think it was Sumi come by and said, oh, it's this one. So
Yeah, there's a cool extension that I have on the stream too, where you can click and see what I've got built. But I do what I can. I mean, even just to answer questions, like you said yourself, you're asking about the pig the other day, and I thrive the most when I can understand and try and help educate as best as I can. And this is one of those games where people like to either come in and vice versa. Either they want to see a certain player or a certain killer or a certain survivor be played, or they want to know a question about how mechanic works or whatever like that. And I don't know. I've always considered DBD I always considered 14 like my main game, but I think DBD comes in a close second to what I'm commonly referred to or commonly known to play when I'm live streaming.
Yeah. So
that makes me happy.
You're a veteran at this point, to say the least, for this game. Is there any big changes you'd like to see them do in terms of like level design or maybe a different set of objectives?
I don't know if there's something major. Like I said, the quality of life stuff. I think they're slowly implementing things. The big to do right now is the whole MMR system. That wasn't always a thing. The ranked matchmaking. either needs some tuning up, which they've started to look at. They've been doing some testing, or removed completely. The thing is, it's they've been trying different things, and once they started implementing the MMR, I don't see it as much for me because I don't play it every day. I think the people who do stream this as their main game or they're playing it constantly see it way more than I would. But the matches become much more intense. The higher you progress, the more you're putting in and the more you're succeeding, the more difficult the matches become. And the more difficult the matches become, you end up playing around with the same people in the same matches over and over. I don't typically reach that tier too often. I think I would do okay if I was playing this every day, which I don't. But it's caused a huge sort of uproar in the community. It's taken a lot of fun out of matches because, like I said, you can get into some really wacky matches where everybody's experience is all over the place, where you can get some really decent people on your team or a really good killer. But these matchmaking things going forward, it really puts a tight spot on you. And if you want to progress, like I said, the common term is just sweaty. The matches get so sweaty where if you are not playing right, if you are slipping up, you are so dead, or vice versa as a killer. And it just makes it more stressful than fun. I think it's made the community sort of stressful as a whole, or so I see it. So I think they need to take another look at that. They sort of implemented it and the majority of the computer like, no, thank you. And then they did it anyway. But not like specifics. I think there's certain powers probably they want to tweak. I think a lot of it's just quality of life. Like they just redid the Haddonfield map. And man, what a difference. It's gotten such a good glow up from a map that's been out for 4+ years, 5 years. Other than that, it's just little tweaks, sometimes for specific characters, sometimes for glitching. There you have characters like range characters like Huntress who throws her hatchets and stuff, and you can see the videos that some people take and they'll throw a hatch or something like that and it looks like it's not even near you, and yet it knocks you right down. Like just little quality of glitchy things. I think there's just a lot of little bugs and stuff that they've let continue to exist. That would be nice to just like really spruce up the game. But like I said, it'd be cool if they just took a step back and just did like a complete health check on what's working and what's not working, whether it's glitches or visuals that are not working. I mean, they get around to it. A lot of the survivors just got literally a facelift. Like some of these are characters that are 6 years old, and a lot of the original characters literally they just redid their faces and stuff. They brought up the graphics and now they look much prettier. Like that stuff helps too, but I don't know. I think they slowly implement these things, but they talk about it, and I think some stuff they need to focus on maybe a little bit more. But that's all stuff from like a long-term player, seeing the game sort of progress over the years and how things have changed. So I do think they're getting some things right, and they're taking steps for certain quality of life that I'm happy to see.
Yeah, as a new player myself, it's a case of this is just a fun experience. It's hard to really see anything that I'd want to see out for that. I just need to play more, experience more.
Well, I hope you guys get into some more matches. We'll have to try some matches at some point.
Yeah, I'll have to come by and jump on stream with you for a game or two.
Yeah, I like playing with the stream. It's cool to get people to jump into matches together. Like I said, most of the time I do my stuff solo, so it's nice.
Well, yeah, I don't think you ended up answering your own question, which is your preferred survivor and killer.
Both. I do play
no,
both.
Which
I think
character from both?
Oh, specifically. Oh, I thought you meant like which. If I was being like vague on like one or the other, honestly, I almost think I prefer to play killer. Killers that I enjoy playing: Legion, Pyramid Head, Plague, Onryo. I like Leatherface, although it's been a while since I played him. I really try to get better with Ghostface as well. He's just a personal favorite because I love the franchise so much. But he's one of those killers where I'm like, I play okay, I just want to do well as him. Oh, those are a lot of the main ones I play. Survivors, I play a lot of Lori, Kate, Jeff, Felix, Steve from Stranger Things. I've been playing a lot of Yuichi, I guess, lately from the Ring chapter. And Resident Evil, of course. Jill and Leon. I think that's pretty much it. I've dabbled with a bunch of them. Survivors are mostly just cosmetic stuff, right? Yeah. They're just characters I enjoy playing, or because they're perks. I unlock. My goal is to unlock all the perks on every killer in Survivor. Because once you do, that's the beauty of the game, right? It gives you a goal to pursue. If there's a particular killer that you like playing, but you want to build this, you want to have a certain build, it forces you to dump your blood points into other killers and other survivors to unlock them, right? So I've dabbled a lot in a bunch of them. There's still some killers that I've, even after 6 years, 5 years, whatever, that I've barely touched. I've played like 1 match or 2 matches as Trapper in like the 5+ years I've been playing this game. So it's a lot of it is personal taste, but
we did have a fun match while I was playing this Trapper with the 5 of us, and getting caught in my own traps and dropping people.
Yeah.
It happened twice, and we all just burst out laughing both times. Like, oh shit!
That's all right. I think that happens to veteran players still too.
Knowing that the killers can trip themselves up as well, but stuff is kind of fun.
Yeah, it'll be nice eventually if like they just reworked the Legion and they needed it so bad, and they play so well now. There's killers like the Trapper. I mean, he's the oldest killer in the game, right? He's the face of the game, where he's just like his power and stuff feels pretty weak compared to what sort of new stuff that's coming out, where you just want to see things like that, and it's like just need a little oomph to bring him up to speed to how the game's currently being played. Like there's newer killers with
slow as a killer.
He's very basic, and basically like you have RNG traps and you pray a survivor steps in it, but besides that, all you have is just your basic hit. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't bring much to the table. He's a cool killer, but unless you really want to play him or you really build perks around his style, like I said, he's in the end he's a pretty basic killer. You can still win matches with him, but compared to some of the killers they brought out in recent years and the powers and stuff, it doesn't compare. Like he's lacking at this point. So it'd be nice to see them rework a couple of them as they go.
Yeah, speaking of the new killers, you have been in the test build with the Dredge. Like I said, you only had the 1 game.
Yeah, I tried it briefly. I should have played it the weekend it came out. I waited a week, so matches and stuff were much slower trying to get into it. Dredge is going to be fun. It's certainly a creepy killer, original monster, but it was cool. The match I did play, I got a 4K. I got all 4 survivors knocked out. I'm looking forward to playing them. Did you guys see the footage of what style?
I've only seen his artwork, and as soon as I saw it, this reminds me of Remnant from the Ashes. It was just that creepy style.
Yeah, it's nice to have a creature once in a while.
And he was saying that the gimmick is gonna be an interesting one to go up against.
Yeah, so now killers can
warping.
Yeah, that's never been a thing with killers, so they can teleport between lockers now. So that's neat. The locker stuff's pretty cool. It's adding a new layer to the game, I guess, because now survivors can lock lockers when they need to and things like that. That's stuff that was never implemented before.
I always forget about lockers.
Yeah, they can be super sneaky, or they could totally screw you. You think you're being clever, and you're like, I'm just gonna hide here, and the killer will know like exactly where you are. Or sometimes it's just blind luck.
Yeah.
Where I've been a killer, I'm like, maybe I'll just open this one real quick, and sure enough, hey, there you are.
Yeah, grab him by the throat, throw him out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's funny because the perks and stuff start adding manipulation to gameplay. There's perks for survivors where you can fool them into thinking you're in a locker, or if you do it quick enough in a locker and the killer comes towards you, you can burst out and completely stun them. There's all sorts of little nifty things. It's just stuff that you find the more you play, the more you unlock, the
That's
more
been one of the
shenanigans,
things
the more
with
builds you can do.
custom matches is because in the custom match you got access to all the perks, all the add-ons. It's being able to test out, well, what does the flashlight do? What does the keys do? What does this, that, and the other? So it's been a good way for us to try out killers, see what weird stuff we can do with the builds, but on the survivor side, see what we can do if we build right to actually survive.
I think that's pretty great that you guys have a group of you that can do that together and explore the game together, and learn either new perks or just how to, handle the maps or whatever add-ons and stuff you have. I think that's neat.
Yeah. I said it just turns into a party game, so you don't take this seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So one of us might not do that well as the killer, then you'll have one who'll just murder us all so quick.
Yeah. I mean, is your whole party new? Like, are you all guys all playing new together?
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I mean, they're all on the same sort of playing field experience-wise.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago when we were cemented in the date for today. It's like, right, who has access to this? Ash, do you have it in your library? I know you do, Si. I know you do, Matt, because you always grabbing free Epic stuff. So we've had Dead by Daylight stored somewhere for ages. We had another buddy who's on PS5, so we had the PS5 version. Yeah, it's just been nice to quickly get 5 of us together, try it out. And it's just a change from playing 14 or whatever else we're playing as a group.
Yeah, it is. It is a nice alternate game, like I said. It's cool to be able to sneak that in now and again, sort of refresh the palette, and then I go back to 14. Like I said, I did that today. I was playing 14 today. I played DVD yesterday. So,
anything else you want to ask, Ash?
No, I'm like I said, it's all new to me, and like you said, it's quite refreshing in the sense that I love playing Final Fantasy 14 online, but because I focus what limited time I have to play like an MMORPG, I can't. If I was going to play something else online, it can't be like 14. Like I tried playing 11 again alongside 14, and it just you can't. You spreading yourself too thin. But at the same time, sometimes you kind of want a bit of a change from playing a game like 14. And yeah, sure enough, Dead by Daylight is just obviously a few of us from 14 kind of jump on and play it, and I think from the fact that we have that little group and we're all beginners and we're all kind of just starting out, it does kind of add that appeal to it. If it was just me playing the game, I probably wouldn't have. Well, like you said, I've had this copy for a few good months now through PlayStation Plus, but I've never really felt the urge to play it. But sure enough, when all of us are playing it, it has its appeal, and I think we will continue playing it.
Yeah, I think this goes back to with you, Tequila, at the start of the show, going into as a kid, all the kids in the neighborhood being able to just jump in different games and stuff. It's nice to get games like this again, and it brings you back to those times. Even though, like with us, it's me and Ash, we live 20-minute drive from each other. Then one of our buddies is an hour or so away, another one's 2 hours away, then our fifth one's over in Portugal. So it's nice to just
few more hours drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Get across the water. So it's nice
I agree.
to just
I think that's
a multinational close-knit group. And as you know, it's a streamer where your viewers are from is all over the globe. So when you get this thing, it brings this gigantic world of ours into this small space.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Just like you said, comparing it to that same sort of feeling, it makes for such a good party game. So the fact that you guys have a good group of friends that you can just go in and hop in and have some laughs and catch up and stuff like that, it's such a simple game to just jump in and get some objectives and have some fun, even if it's just for a handful of matches. It's super convenient that way, and it's one of the reasons why I love it too.
Yeah. It has been so far a really fun experience. We'll probably still play it for a decent while when the 5 of us have got the time to just jump in for an hour or two, shout at each other, insult each other, laugh at each other, all the fun stuff
You should.
do.
I want to know how you're progressing. I want to know what killers you're playing and stuff.
Yeah, like I hit ranks. I play a level 7 today, so I am jumping in some solo games to actually level up. Before we end, because I've been meaning to ask this on stream, with the killers and survivors, are they ones that are unlockable through the game itself rather than the DLC packs?
Yes. Like characters and stuff you're talking about?
Yeah.
Are there unlockables that way? Yeah, I believe so. So how they have it set up is the shards that you accumulate just by playing matches. You accumulate them as you go over time. I think you can unlock. It's always original stuff. The only stuff I know for sure, 100%, you have to buy, are the licensed killers.
Yeah.
So that stuff is always sold separately. They're never bundled. They got bundles, like even if you were to shop on Steam or Epic or whatever, they always have sales and stuff. But you'll find the only ones, like I said, the only ones that'll ever cost real money ever is the paid license chapters. Other
Which
than
is
that,
fair,
I think,
probably to cover the licensing fees that they have to pay for them.
yeah, I don't think they have a choice in the matter on that one.
Yeah.
But no, I think everything else that's original, I don't know how long or how much they cost. I bought all mine over time just with cash as the chapters came out. But I know that there is some stuff that you can buy in game, like with their currency. They have their shards that you just accumulate naturally by the more you play, the more you accumulate, sort of situation. And if you save enough without spending any, I think you can unlock characters that way. So I believe that is an option. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think, gents, good time to wrap up the show. It has been a pleasure to have you on, Tequila.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me come and gush about DVD.
If you ever want to come back for the next anniversary, we'll happily have you on.
Hopefully we'll be a bit more experienced in our DVD.
Or maybe we'll see what you're playing in your Horror October and drag you on to gush about whatever new horror you'll be playing.
Count on it. I'll definitely be playing something then.
So yeah, Tequila, do you want to tell everyone what you're up to, what you're planning to be doing in the future?
Sure. Well, thank you again for having me on here. You can catch DVD content with me, especially coming this week. Those of you who don't know, you two might not know it. Double blood points. The points you accumulate in your matches start this week on Tuesday. You'll earn a lot more in non-custom games. So if you want to level up anybody, now's the time to do it. They got a lot of stuff coming out with their 6-year anniversary too. But I'll definitely be trying to squeeze more of that in. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/tequila shots 1500. A lot of 14 DVD when I can. I have a couple single player games lined up due to a recent subathon. I got to squeeze in Yakuza Like a Dragon, Chrono Trigger, and The Witcher 3 in the next couple months.
Yakuza will be a fun time.
I've got to finish Yakuza, and I do enjoy that.
The comedy
it'll be
in
my
those
first one.
games is top notch.
It'll be my first one to play. So
same for me.
But yeah, that's what you can expect in the semi near future. Other than that, a lot of 14, a lot of DVD. I try to squeeze in other stuff in between when I can. That's pretty much it. You can find me on Twitch pretty much 6 days a week, mornings and a couple evenings when I'm doing raid night and 14.
And
thanks again for having me.
Twitter is just below your webcam as well.
You can find me on all those social medias: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok.
As for Ash and myself, we will be back soon discussing Shin Megami Tensei and Persona with Sly the Fox, also known as Sly aka Grey Fox, depending on where you follow him. And that should be a fun show as well. Thanks all.